Laptop from Hell. This video is based on key insights from the book Laptop from Hell by Miranda Devine. Introduction. Miranda Devine's narrative revolves around the dirty secrets surrounding President Joe Biden and his family, particularly focusing on Hunter Biden's activities. The story begins just before the 2020 U.S. election, when Devine, a columnist for the New York Post, receives text messages from Rudy Giuliani's lawyer, Bob Costello. These messages hint at a treasure trove of evidence, approximately 40,000 emails, over 1,000 text messages, and numerous photos and videos involving Hunter Biden. The images shared were startling. One showed Hunter, then 47, seemingly using a crack pipe in bed. Another captured him asleep with an unlit pipe near his mouth, while the last was a selfie of him partially undressed, revealing a fresh tattoo of the Finger Lakes region in upstate New York on his back. This area held special significance for Hunter, as it was where his mother, Nelia, grew up and where he cherished childhood memories. These photos suggested that Giuliani and Costello possessed substantial evidence, possibly exposing Hunter to blackmail or extortion by foreign adversaries. The source of this information: a Mac repair shop owner in Delaware who found Hunter's abandoned laptop. The laptop contained more than just disturbing images. It also held corporate documents, bank transfers, and emails hinting at a massive global influence peddling scheme, allegedly involving Joe Biden himself. This scheme was reportedly backed by some of the world's most oppressive regimes, painting a picture of large-scale corruption within Washington, D.C., on an international scale. Despite Hunter's personal struggles with drugs and depicted in explicit material, he seemed to understand his value, his familial ties to the powerful Biden name. This narrative is meticulously detailed on the laptop, covering Joe Biden's time as vice president and senator from Delaware leading up to his presidency. In October 2020, the New York Post published parts of these laptop contents under the headline Biden's Secret Emails. The most eye-catching piece was a 2015 email suggesting Joe Biden met in Washington with a top executive from a Ukrainian energy company, paying Hunter $1 million annually for his board position. 8 months later, as vice president, Joe threatened to withhold $1 billion in U.S. aid unless Ukraine fired its prosecutor investigating the corruption at Burisma, the energy company. The Post story was immediately suppressed by social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, a move Devine calls an example of political power flexing by tech giants, a form of election interference. If this story had been widely known before the 2020 election, it could have swayed votes in key districts and possibly altered the outcome. Devine's findings are corroborated through multiple sources, including emails from recipients, documents from Hunter's business partner Tony Bobulinski, overseas bank payments linked to Hunter, and additional context from investigative journalists Peter Schweizer and Matthew Tiamand. The laptop's contents tell a troubling tale of the Bidens prioritizing personal gain over national interests, especially concerning China, America's primary geopolitical rival. Thus, Devine concludes that Joe Biden can't distance his family's business dealings from U.S. foreign policy matters. The president is deeply intertwined with these money-making schemes tied to foreign affairs. Chapter 1: A Knock at the Door. In the spring of 2018, Hunter Biden found himself in the midst of a serious drug binge at the famous Chateau Marmont Hotel in Los Angeles. Miranda Devine's chapter describes how Hunter, despite his financial struggles, was spending lavishly on luxury cars and high-end escort services. He was reportedly smoking crack cocaine around the clock, using a small kitchen in his garden cottage to prepare his drugs. Hunter's behavior was extravagant even by his standards. He was renting a Lamborghini for $650 per day and hiring escorts for elaborate sessions. Despite his wild lifestyle, he was also dealing with financial issues. His credit card from Wells Fargo had hit its limit of $65,000, causing him to wire money to cover the bills. Hunter's bank statements showed a sudden mysterious withdrawal of $2 million from an account at Cathay Bank in New York, linked to one of his firms, Hudson West 2I. This firm had received $5 million from a Chinese energy company, CEFC, before the arrest of one of its partners. Hunter's financial woes led him to transfer money via Zelle, a digital payment app, to an escort named Yana. When Yana demanded her payment, Hunter's cards were declined. Frantic, he used another card and transferred the $8,000, only to find out later that his accounts had been drained. The next day, 2 former Secret Service agents appeared at the hotel, identified as Rob and Dale Pupillo. They pressured Hunter, suggesting a link between these financial troubles and his father's account, using the code name Celtic for Joe Biden. Hunter, anxious to resolve the issue, promised to go down immediately. Rob implied that unless Hunter complied, they would assume he was in danger and take action to get hotel keys. This scene suggests that the president's son had secrets that could potentially embarrass or harm his family, leading to this unusual intervention by former Secret Service agents. The chapter hints at a pattern where Hunter's financial and personal crises are managed through connections to his father's network, including former agents like Pupillo. These dirty secrets, from drug use to financial entanglements, are shown as being closely tied to the Biden family, particularly when under pressure or in trouble. Despite ending his official Secret Service protection in 2014, Joe Biden maintained close ties with agents like Pupillo, who later helped manage Hunter's crises outside of any formal duty. This narrative raises questions about the extent to which these personal issues and their resolutions are intertwined with the president's political life and legacy. Chapter 2: The Prodigal Son. In her piece, New York Post columnist Miranda Devine delves into the tumultuous life of Hunter Biden, highlighting the dirty secrets his family has attempted to conceal. Hunter Biden, son of Joe Biden, finds himself in a pickle during a visit to his family's home in Delaware after being rescued from a rough situation with a Russian escort in Los Angeles. The young man, known for his expensive tastes and generous spending, discovers that one of the strippers from Archibald's Gentlemen's Club, a hotspot just blocks away from the White House, has disappeared with his $8,500 Gucci leather bomber jacket. Frustrated and indignant, Hunter tries to reach out to Sylvia, the club's manager, through a series of text messages. He insists the stripper, identified as Alessandro, is his friend and promises he had good reasons for leaving the jacket behind. As days pass without any news about the missing jacket or Alessandro, Hunter grows more accusatory, suspecting foul play from Sylvia. Despite the dispute, Hunter continues visiting Archibald's and spending generously. The main reason for this impromptu family visit is Joe Biden's hope that his son will reform his ways and focus on earning money instead of squandering it in LA to this end. Joe encourages Hunter to reconnect with Jeff Cooper, a significant donor who had been supportive of Hunter's business endeavors previously. Jeff Cooper, running the prominent asbestos litigation firm Simmons Cooper, was instrumental in helping Hunter secure lucrative opportunities due to Joe Biden's influence while he was a U.S. Senator for Delaware and the leader of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Despite these connections, Hunter's reunion with Cooper doesn't happen during his stay in Wilmington. Instead, Hunter engages in reckless behavior, spending more money at Archibald's and exploring dating apps like Tinder. He even uses escort services, as evidenced by the discovery of explicit photos on his laptop from time spent with an escort named Sweet Kink. Hunter's relationship with his sister-in-law Hallie, who has been his love interest, becomes increasingly strained during this visit. She attempts to help him overcome his addiction and is critical of his drug use. In response, Hunter lashes out, calling her names and accusing her of infidelity with their mutual friend David. The situation worsens when Hallie blocks Hunter's number, prompting him to text their teenage daughter Natalie in an attempt to reach her mother. This leads to a heated exchange between Hunter and Hallie via Natalie's phone, further damaging their already fragile relationship. While trying to avoid another run-in with London Alexis Roberts, a stripper from the Empire Club who is now pregnant with his child, Hunter becomes desperate to escape Delaware and return to the more indulgent environment of Los Angeles. However, as Miranda Devine illustrates, these dirty secrets from his past are set to resurface, causing trouble for Hunter Biden even in his dissolute life away from home. Chapter 3: Bender Ender at the Chateau. Miranda Devine's chapter unveils the tumultuous period in Hunter Biden's life in the summer of 2018, highlighting his struggles with addiction and their impact on his relationships, particularly with his father, Joe Biden, then the vice president. Hunter, known for his party lifestyle at the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles, found himself blacklisted from the hotel due to excessive drug use and property damage. This ban, though not publicly acknowledged by him, was a result of his drug-fueled antics, including cooking crack cocaine in his room, hosting dealers and prostitutes, and running up large bills on his credit cards. Despite this, Hunter felt unfairly treated, perceiving the hotel's actions as racially motivated, a claim lacking evidence. His drug-induced delusions led him to believe the hotel staff discriminated against him because of the race of his associates. This perceived injustice fueled his anger and became a point of revenge for Hunter. Simultaneously, Hunter's relationship with Hallie, his brother Beau's widow, was deteriorating due to their shared drug problems. Their living situation became chaotic, marked by drug-using visitors and public video recordings of intimate moments uploaded to Pornhub. Hallie eventually cut off contact, citing Hunter's need for sobriety to see their children as a reason. This family drama escalated into heated text exchanges between Hunter and Joe Biden, with Hunter accusing his father of siding with Hallie against him. These texts revealed Hunter's deep-seated feelings of inadequacy and his lifelong struggle for his father's unconditional acceptance. Meanwhile, Joe Biden, despite his political duties, made efforts to support his troubled son. His visits to Los Angeles were driven by Hunter's calls for help, yet they were overshadowed by the son's bitter accusations of disloyalty and manipulation. The chapter also hints at a broader narrative, the dirty secrets Joe Biden attempted to conceal. These included his awareness of his son's worsening drug addiction, his role in managing family tensions stemming from this issue, and his attempt to maintain public dignity while dealing with private turmoil. The story underscores the strain Hunter's substance abuse put on his relationships, especially with his father, and the lengths Joe went to support him amidst public scrutiny. It provides a glimpse into the complex dynamics of a family grappling with a loved one's addiction, and the covert efforts to manage such crises while preserving public image. Chapter 4: Kathleen. Miranda Devine's chapter delves into the complexities and controversies surrounding the Biden family, particularly focusing on Hunter Biden and his relationship with Kathleen. This narrative explores some of the dirty secrets the president, Joe Biden, may have hoped to keep hidden. Hunter Biden met Kathleen Boole in 1992 while volunteering at a Jesuit youth program in Portland, Oregon. Despite their contrasting backgrounds, Hunter was a poetry-writing law school graduate with a brooding demeanor, and Kathleen was a recently graduated schoolteacher's daughter. They fell deeply in love. Their relationship was swift, leading to an unexpected pregnancy shortly after their first date. They quickly got engaged and married less than a year later, with Joe Biden welcoming Kathleen into the family. The couple had 2 daughters together, Finnegan and Maisie, while living in Washington, D.C., where Hunter pursued lucrative lobbying jobs. Despite their social prominence, attending elite schools and rubbing shoulders with influential figures, the marriage faced turbulence. Hunter's struggles with addiction, adultery, and drug-related issues strained their union. One of these secrets surfaced in 2013, when Hunter was discharged from the Naval Reserve following a positive cocaine test. He tried to explain it away by claiming he had accidentally smoked cigarettes laced with cocaine, but his excuse was deemed implausible. His official discharge was a quiet administrative action, not a dishonorable one, yet the scandal could have tarnished his reputation if it became public knowledge. Another secret was Hunter's business ventures, which often leveraged his family name to secure lucrative deals in foreign countries. His partnerships, including one with Chris Hines and Devon Archer, seemed to prioritize connections over strategic acumen or industry expertise. For instance, he reportedly secured a $10 million annual deal for mere introductions, a loan from a Chinese business partner. These ventures occasionally sparked controversy and legal troubles, such as when one partnership dissolved in lawsuits. Yet Hunter seemed to move on swiftly, always finding the next big opportunity, often with his father's help. In parallel, Kathleen maintained a busy schedule, managing family life, social engagements, and charitable endeavors while also supporting her husband through his struggles. Her unwavering devotion to their children and community was evident, even as she navigated the complexities of life in the public eye alongside Hunter's secrets. Beau Biden's death in 2015, due to brain cancer, further strained the marriage. Hunter, deeply affected by his brother's passing, considered entering politics, a prospect Kathleen found dubious given his recent disgraceful naval discharge. The mounting tension ultimately led to their separation, with each party harboring resentment over the other's perceived shortcomings. Miranda Devine's account paints a picture of a family grappling with personal and professional challenges, revealing some of the dirty secrets at the heart of this prominent political dynasty. Chapter 5, It's Over. Miranda Devine unveils the tumultuous breakdown of Hunter Biden's marriage, revealing hidden family secrets that President Joe Biden attempted to keep under wraps. Hunter and his wife, Kathleen, had been together for 2 decades when Kathleen discovered his infidelity and emotional abuse. The turning point came after Beau's death from brain cancer in 2015, which left Hunter vulnerable to drugs and adultery. According to Miranda Devine's narrative, Hunter blamed Kathleen for his downfall, claiming her lack of forgiveness post Beau's death triggered his relapse. He even started an affair with Hallie, Beau's widow, supposedly for support during his grief. However, Hunter insisted the relationship began months after Beau's passing, not mere days, as Kathleen suspected. Kathleen noticed Hunter spending more time in Delaware with Hallie and her kids than at home. She felt ignored when he'd casually agree to accompany Hallie on activities, like taking Natalie to camp, while dismissing her concerns. Despite Kathleen's growing unease, Hunter maintained his story, making her question her own sanity. Their relationship took a nosedive in July 2015, when Hunter stormed out of therapy, drank vodka, and visited an Archibald strip club until the early hours of the morning. Yet, he insisted on visiting Hallie for Independence Day weekend instead of returning home. This infuriated Kathleen, solidifying her belief that their union was crumbling due to his indiscretions. The couple's issues escalated when Hunter's name appeared on the Ashley Madison hack data, a dating site for married individuals seeking affairs. Although Hunter denied involvement and claimed Russians had hacked him, Kathleen remained skeptical. Hunter's failure to address this matter thoroughly deepened her distrust. As Joe Biden considered a 2016 presidential run, tensions between Hunter and Kathleen intensified. She moved out with their daughters for the summer, leaving him at home. Desperate for support amidst his father's political deliberations, Hunter sought comfort from Hallie, an act that only fueled Kathleen's suspicions of an illicit relationship between them. Hunter's financial irresponsibility and drug issues further strained their marriage. Kathleen accused him of hiding money, spending excessively on personal indulgences like expensive gifts for other women, alcohol, and strip club visits. Meanwhile, Hunter denied hiring prostitutes or frequenting strip joints, but admitted to venting his frustration by visiting a strip club after learning of Kathleen's accusations. As the family's financial woes worsened, Kathleen filed for divorce in December 2016, requesting sole custody of their youngest daughter, Maisie. Amidst the chaos, Hunter and Hallie officially started dating with Joe Biden's blessing, a relationship that would unfold amid scandal and controversy. Throughout this tumultuous period, Miranda Devine exposes how President Joe Biden tried to conceal his son's personal struggles, drug addiction, and alleged affair with Hallie, painting a picture of a fractured family and political ambitions intertwined. Chapter 6: The Delaware Way. Miranda Devine uncovers the murky history of the Biden family, focusing on their international influence peddling operation. It all started in Delaware, where Joe Biden honed his Delaware Way politics, a system of favors and cronyism. Over 4 decades as senator, Joe built a network that facilitated lucrative deals for his family. Joe's sons Beau and Hunter had assigned roles. Beau was the polished political star, while Hunter was tasked with supporting the family financially through high-paying jobs secured by Joe's connections. This included a $100,000 job at MBNA, his largest donor, soon after graduating from Yale Law School. Hunter's path to Yale wasn't strictly merit-based. He was initially rejected, but later admitted as a transfer student, possibly due to the intervention of Guido Calabresi, then dean of Yale Law School. This favor might have been prompted by a call from President Bill Clinton on Joe's behalf. Despite his father's political clout, Hunter felt underappreciated and resentful about being the family's financial backbone. He grumbled about covering student loans and even Joe's household bills, like a $190 monthly AT&T bill. Emails from Hunter's business partner, Eric Schwerin, show that Hunter was expected to pay for maintenance and upkeep at Joe's lakefront property. The Bidens' real estate ventures are another facet of their influence peddling operation. In 1997, Hunter bought a historic house on the Winterthur estate, later selling it for double his purchase price after renovations. Meanwhile, Joe owned a grand DuPont mansion in Greenville, which he sold to John Cochran, MBNA's vice chairman, at a steep profit in 1996. Joe's political ties extended beyond Delaware. His relationship with Teamsters boss Jimmy Hoffa's family, despite his support for trade policies disadvantageous to American workers, highlights this. Hunter even invited Hoffa to a White House state dinner. Miranda Devine suggests that Joe Biden's political success in Delaware was partly due to union-organized newspaper strikes that stopped campaign ads from reaching voters before his 1972 election. This victory solidified his dominance in the state, influencing various aspects of Delaware life in ways known only to insiders. The Biden family's financial entanglements are evident in their real estate deals and Hunter's roles as a conduit for cash. Their operation expanded internationally when Joe became vice president, with Hunter allegedly facilitating lucrative deals involving his father, most notably with Chinese energy firm CEFC, where he was set to receive a 10% stake dubbed for the big guy. This scheme brought immense wealth, but also near ruin for Hunter. Chapter 7: Oedipus Rex. Miranda Devine's chapter delves into the life of Joe Biden, focusing on his complex relationship with his son Hunter and how it intertwines with political maneuvering. Joe Biden, during the 2020 presidential debates against Donald Trump, skillfully deflected criticism about Hunter's questionable business dealings by emphasizing his pride in his son's recovery from drug addiction. This move was strategic, aligning with the growing public sympathy towards drug users as a disease rather than a moral failing due to the opioid epidemic affecting many Americans. Devine explores Biden's upbringing in Scranton, Pennsylvania, shaped by his father Joseph S.'s ambitious yet unstable business ventures. Despite his polished image as a charming, well-dressed politician, Biden harbored deep insecurities, stemming from his father's instability and his own stuttering problem. Biden's need for respect and admiration led him to exaggerate his accomplishments and fabricate stories about his past, including false tales of racial activism and encounters with historical figures like Nelson Mandela. This pattern continued even after being caught in lies, showcasing a lack of shame. A significant turning point was the 1972 car accident that killed Biden's wife Nelia and their infant daughter Naomi, while severely injuring his 2 young sons, Beau and Hunter. Despite evidence suggesting it as an unfortunate accident, Biden later shifted blame onto the truck driver, Curtis Dunn, even after Dunn's death. This revision of truth became part of Biden's self-mythology. symbolized by iconic images of him being sworn into Senate office beside his injured sons. Biden's subsequent marriage to Jill Jacobs introduced new family dynamics, but Hunter struggled with feelings of neglect and inadequacy compared to his brother Beau, who seemed to embody everything Hunter lacked: maturity, stability, and approval from their mother. These complex relationships influenced Hunter's personal life and political perceptions. As Joe Biden's career progressed, Hunter's resentment intensified, culminating in angry outbursts directed at his father. This included questioning the public narrative of Jill saving their family, contradicting Hunter's belief that it was Joe's sister Val and mother-in-law who provided critical support after Nelia's death. Hunter's frustration exploded in a poem he wrote for himself, positioning himself as Damos, anger personified, hinting at his seething resentment and the volatility of their father-son relationship. This tension added another layer to Biden's political image, with his son's dirty secrets potentially impacting his presidential bid. Throughout, Divine illustrates how personal tragedies and familial dynamics intertwined with Biden's public persona and political strategies, exposing the complex layers of a leader's life beyond the campaign trail. Chapter 8: The Grift. In the summer of 2018, Uncle Jim Biden sought help for his troubled daughter Caroline from her cousin Hunter. Caroline was dealing with criminal charges after misusing a stolen credit card to buy $110,000 worth of beauty products in New York City. Despite Hunter's history of substance abuse and legal issues, Jim chose him to keep Caroline out of more trouble until her sentencing hearing in Manhattan. Caroline, who resembled celebrity Paris Hilton, had a pattern of living beyond her means and getting into scrapes with the law. She was arrested twice after Uncle Joe became vice president. One incident involved a violent fight with her roommate in their luxury Tribeca apartment over unpaid rent. During this altercation, Caroline reportedly attacked a female police officer and was later seen being taken away from the police station in an ambulance, covered in a white sheet. Uncle Jim had paid for the expensive apartment Caroline was subletting. After that altercation, she was accused of assaulting a police officer and was sent to rehab for anger management. Later, Caroline crashed her car into a tree near her parents' Pennsylvania home while driving under the influence. She pleaded guilty and received a sentence of 20 days in rehab and 5 months of probation. Caroline was not happy with the $85,000 plus job offer her Uncle Joe helped secure for her in Los Angeles. She claimed it was beneath her, stating she'd never made this little money in her life. Meanwhile, Hunter's business partner, James Gillier, and Hunter himself were involved in nepotism and favoritism within the Biden family. For instance, they helped Missy Owens secure a government appointment for her mother, Val, after she noticed Eric Schwerin, Hunter's business partner, landed a Plum Obama administration position. In return, Schwerin proposed two $12,500 per month consulting contracts for Aunt Val with the Biden Foundation and University of Delaware following her 4-month stint at the UN. This illustrates how the Bidens used their connections to create opportunities for family members. The Bidens' family grift extended beyond immediate relatives, as seen in Frank Biden's case. Despite not being a lawyer, Frank was featured in an advertisement for his South Florida law firm that paid him as an advisor when Joe became president. Additionally, Frank and his wife benefited from Joe's political influence during state dinners and other 6P events despite living in Florida. Frank also had a history of DUI arrests and experienced a fortunate turnaround when Joe facilitated connections for him in Costa Rica involving real estate and casino deals, showcasing how family ties helped Frank navigate legal and business challenges. Joe Biden ensured that his family lived a life of privilege and entitlement under his patronage. Within the first months of his presidency, at least 5 children of top aides secured jobs in the new administration, highlighting the influence and benefits of having a Biden in power. Biden relatives had access to prestigious educational opportunities, government positions, clerkships, scholarships, directorships, and corporate donors eager for their favor. Legal issues were often resolved with help from family connections, making life for Bidens seem like an effortless ride over challenges ordinary people face. Hunter Biden, in a conversation with his friend Devon Archer, convicted of federal fraud charges, reminded him of their privileged heritage and the obligation to endure persecution that comes with great family status. This conversation demonstrates how Hunter defended the family's elite dynamics despite individual members encountering legal troubles. Chapter 9, Café Milano. In the heart of Washington, D.C., Café Milano stands as a haven for the world's elite, its privacy unmatched. On a warm April evening in 2015, Hunter Biden orchestrated a dinner at this renowned establishment, aiming to introduce his father, Vice President Joe Biden, to foreign business associates. Hunter was deeply involved in global affairs at the time, acting as a representative for Chinese energy giant CEFC, an entity closely tied to Xi Jinping's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. The Bidens were reaping benefits from Joe's high office, with money flowing in from various international ventures. Yet, Hunter faced challenges in arranging White House meetings due to scrutiny from President Obama's office and roadblocks set by the White House Counsel. To bypass these obstacles, he planned a private dinner at Café Milano, where his father could meet associates from Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Russia simultaneously. The guest list was meticuloususly prepared. It included Vadim Pozharsky, a high-ranking executive from Burisma, the Ukrainian energy firm paying Hunter $83,333 monthly for his board position. Also invited were Yelena and Yuri Luzhkov, a wealthy Russian couple, with Yuri having served as Moscow's mayor. Yelena's wiring of $3.5 million to Rosemont Seneca Thornton LLC, a firm co-founded by Hunter, Christopher Hines, and Devon Archer for a Chinese joint venture, raised eyebrows due to its suspicious nature, as noted in a Senate Republican report. Two officials from Kazakhstan were also on the list: Mark Holtzman, then chairman of Kazkommertsbank, and others whose identities remain undisclosed. A Mexican ambassador and representatives from World Food Program USA were included as well. Before the event, Hunter used his role in World Food Program USA as a cover story for introducing his father to these business associates, hinting at discussions on food security. Despite his father's potential attendance being kept secret until the last minute, he had been informing guests weeks prior, causing some, like Archer, to question the value of certain attendees, including John Kerry. Post-dinner, emails of gratitude poured in from attendees, praising the productive and fantastic evening. An unverified photo circulating online suggested a meeting between Joe Biden, then Prime Minister Karim Massimov of Kazakhstan, and junior oligarch Kenz Rakishev, further hinting at business dealings. Initially, the White House dismissed claims of the dinner, only admitting to Joe's brief visit after extensive denials and stonewalling. They claimed it was merely to meet Father Alex Karloutzos, a Greek Orthodox cleric and Michael's father, suggesting religious ties as an explanation for the dinner. Yet, this narrative doesn't align with Hunter's preparations or the testimonies of attendees. This chapter reveals the lengths to which the Biden family went to conceal Joe's involvement in Hunter's overseas business dealings, highlighting the dirty secrets they sought to keep hidden from public scrutiny. Chapter 10, Breakfast of Billionaires. In the narrative by Miranda Devine, several intriguing connections between Hunter Biden and influential Mexican businessmen are highlighted. These relationships could potentially reveal the dirty secrets the president tried to hide. On November 19, 2015, an interesting coincidence unfolded at the U.S. Naval Observatory, also known as NAVOBS, where Vice President Joe Biden resided. Hunter Biden, Joe's son, hosted a breakfast meeting with four prominent Mexican figures: billionaires Carlos Slim and Miguel Alemán Velasco, along with their 49-year-old son, Miguel Alemán Magnani, the founder of budget airline Interjet. Jeff Cooper, a longtime Biden family benefactor involved in Hunter's energy deals in Mexico, was also present. Photographs from that morning show Joe and Hunter posing with these visitors in their living room, which was painted daffodil yellow and adorned with artwork by Vermont artist Wolf Kahn. The presence of floral chairs and a pink-toned silk rug matched the room's decor. Joe Biden denies any knowledge of Hunter's lucrative foreign deals during his vice presidency, but evidence on Hunter's laptop tells a different story. The diary shows numerous events scheduled at Navob's overlapping with Hunter's business interests. Joe met with Hunter's associates in his West Wing office and even took his son on Air Force Two for trips to countries involved in Hunter's deals, sometimes bringing one of Hunter's partners along. Hunter's relationship with Carlos Slim, once the world's richest man, started soon after a White House state dinner in 2010 honoring Mexican President Felipe Calderon. This connection led to Hunter's 6P tour of Slim's private Museo Saumia in Mexico City and subsequent meetings with Slim's sons, Carlos Jr. and Tony. Hunter visited Mexico multiple times between 2011 and 2015, often accompanied by his father or Cooper. In 2013, Uncle Jim Biden also wanted to capitalize on the family's Slim connection for a deal involving Pemex, Mexico's state-owned oil company. Meanwhile, Hunter and Cooper sought financial support from the Slims for Cooper's online gaming company and digital wallet firm ePlata, where Hunter held a 5% stake through his firm Owasco. Hunter's Ukrainian venture with Burisma also intersected with his Mexican endeavors. He facilitated meetings between a lemon magnani and high-ranking Mexican officials, including the Secretary of Energy and Pemex's CEO. These introductions could have benefited Interjet, the airline owned by a lemon magnani. When a visa issue hindered Burisma's owner, Mykola Zilashevsky, from traveling to Mexico, Hunter felt the repercussions. This snag endangered one of his profitable side ventures, causing him to express concern about jeopardizing his board position with Burisma. Despite these complex webs of connections and favors, there's no clear evidence on Hunter's laptop of direct quid pro quo arrangements. However, the frequency and nature of these interactions certainly raise questions about potential conflicts of interest during Joe Biden's vice presidency. Chapter 11, Burisma. In early 2009, Hunter Biden, the vice president's son, started his own investment firm, Rosemont Seneca Partners. His partners were Chris Hines, stepson of Senator John Kerry, and Devin Archer, a former advisor to Kerry. Despite Archer's later conviction for a $60 million fraud scheme against an American Indian tribe, he was initially seen as the group's golden boy due to his charm and sales skills. In April 2014, Archer was photographed with Joe Biden in the White House, which would later cause the vice president trouble. This photo appeared on Burisma's website just a week before Archer joined Burisma's board. The White House claimed it was for a school project of Archer's son, but emails suggest it was to link Archer with the VP. Soon after, Hunter joined Archer and Zilashevsky, Burisma's owner, on its board in May 2014. Despite his inexperience in private equity, Hunter was paid $83,333 monthly, a sum that later dropped to $41,500 when Joe left office. Archer and Hunter started lobbying for Burisma immediately after joining the board, pressuring influential Ukrainians to drop investigations against Zilashevsky. Emails show they even considered using law firm Boies Schiller, with ties to the Bidens, for legal protection worth $25,000 monthly. The duo's efforts intensified after Zilashevsky lost $23 million in frozen UK bank accounts due to an international corruption probe linked to ex-Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych's government. This led to a meeting with Ukraine's new interim government, seeking help to end investigations against Burisma. In 2015, as concerns grew within the U.S. State Department about Hunter's role in Burisma, Special Envoy Amos Hochstein tried discussing it with Joe Biden. However, the vice president was more focused on pressuring Ukraine's new prosecutor general, Viktor Shokin, to resign, claiming he was obstructing anti-corruption efforts. Unbeknownst to many, Shokin was actually investigating Burisma and Zalishevsky. After Joe's pressure, Shokin stepped down in late 2016, replaced by Yuri Lutsenko, who subsequently dropped all charges against Zalishevsky and Burisma. The vice president later boasted about forcing Shokin's resignation during a speech in 2018. But Shokin argues he was sacked because he was pursuing Zalishevsky, and even suggested Joe had promised Poroshenko to bring corrupt compromise against him. Miranda Devine's narrative reveals how the Bidens tried to hide their entanglement with a potentially corrupt Ukrainian energy firm while serving in high office. They used family connections, legal strategies, and political pressure to shield Hunter from scrutiny, even as he received millions for seemingly little work done. Chapter 12, Princelings. Miranda Devine's narrative revolves around the complex web of relationships and business dealings between the Biden family, particularly Hunter Biden, and Chinese officials, most notably Xi Jinping. This intricate tapestry reveals a pattern of potential conflicts of interest and favors bestowed upon the Bidens through their connections to power. Hunter's trip to Beijing with his father in 2013 was a significant event. The younger Biden, despite lacking business acumen, managed to secure meetings with influential figures like Jonathan Li, CEO of Bohai Capital, a firm controlled by the Bank of China. This opportunity was facilitated by Joe's position as vice president, underscoring the potential for leveraging government influence for personal gain. The Chinese understand the concept of guanxi, or personalized social networks, and reciprocal obligations deeply rooted in their culture. They recognized Hunter Biden as a proxy, messenger, and bagman for his powerful family, despite his apparent lack of qualifications. This insight suggests that the Bidens' presence was seen more as a strategic business arrangement than mere familial companionship during official trips. Joe Biden's long-standing relationships with Chinese leaders, dating back to his Senate days and reinforced during his time as vice president, further highlight this narrative. His efforts to cultivate a personal connection with Xi Jinping were not solely for diplomatic purposes, but also seemed to pave the way for Hunter's business ventures. The establishment of Bohai Harvest Rosemont, BHR, an investment partnership between Hunter and Chinese interests, underscores this point. This deal was finalized shortly after their meeting in Beijing, raising questions about whether Joe's influence played a role in securing the agreement. Moreover, the Biden family's continued involvement in these ventures, despite Joe's political rise and promises to divest, suggests a disregard for perceived conflicts of interest. Hunter's ongoing 10% stake in BHR, even after his father became president, exemplifies this dynamic. The narrative also points to the Bidens' potential blindness towards risks associated with these dealings. For instance, Joe's eagerness to please Chinese leaders and ingratiate himself with Xi Jinping, despite the strategic implications for U.S.-China relations, underscores this issue. Lastly, the involvement of Hunter in deals like Fisker Automotive, a company that received substantial federal loans under Joe's watch and later collapsed, adds another layer to this story. These dealings suggest a pattern where the Bidens benefit personally from their proximity to power, raising questions about ethics and potential conflicts of interest. In essence, Miranda Devine's account reveals a complex picture of how the Bidens' relationships with Chinese officials potentially intersected with personal business opportunities, suggesting the existence of dirty secrets that Joe Biden may have sought to obscure. Chapter 13, The Super Chairman. In the world of high-stakes international business, Hunter Biden found himself at the center of a lucrative deal with China, according to Miranda Devine's account. This deal involved a mysterious figure known only as the Super Chairman, who promised to invest $100 million into Hunter's first major venture in China. The identity of this man was kept a secret by Hunter and his American partners, who referred to him as SC. The Super Chairman turned out to be Qi Feng, the son-in-law of Dai Xianglong, a high-ranking member of the Communist Party of China, CCP. Qi was the sole director and shareholder of EverUnion Capital, a company based in the British Virgin Islands. His wealth, estimated at over $1 billion, included luxury properties in Hong Kong, a result of his close ties to the CCP's elite. Hunter was thrilled about this deal because he believed it would make him and his partners very rich. He wrote to his friend Devon Archer, expressing his excitement. "If you and me get around 7% of this fund, it could be the end all be all." The fund, named Bohai Harvest RSD, Shanghai Equity Investment Fund, or simply BHR, was set to be managed by Chinese state-owned enterprises worth a combined $8 trillion. The BHR partnership included four main parties: Bohai Capital, controlled by the Bank of China; Harvest Fund Management, another big asset manager in China; Rosemont Seneca, Hunter's firm; and Thornton Group, led by Jimmy Bulger, whose uncle was a notorious mobster. Hunter's role in this venture was significant. He became a director of the U.S.-China joint venture, BHR Partners, owning 10% of it. However, he later resigned as a director, but continued to own his stake through Skenatal's LLC. Despite Hunter's claims that he only invested $420,000 and received no return on it, the question remains why he held onto his 10% share even after it brought so much attention to his father, then Vice President Joe Biden. Devine suggests that Hunter's continued ownership of his share in BHR was likely due to anticipation of future payouts. This deal highlights the complex web of international business connections and potential conflicts of interest. It raises questions about how much influence Hunter and his partners might have had on U.S.-China relations, given their close ties to both American and Chinese elites. Moreover, it underscores the power dynamics at play in global finance, where access to high-level decision-makers can significantly impact business outcomes. The BHR deal also illustrates how business partnerships between China's Red families, relatives of high-ranking CCP officials, and influential Americans can lead to mutually beneficial relationships, with potential implications for policy and geopolitical relations. The super chairman, Xi Feng, eventually fell victim to China's anti-corruption campaign. He was detained for questioning in Beijing in 2015 on charges of money laundering and selling intelligence to Western agencies, potentially carrying the death penalty for the latter offense. Despite his legal troubles, Xi played a crucial role in setting up Hunter's lucrative Chinese venture, illustrating the risks and rewards that come with such high-stakes international business dealings. Chapter 14, Show Me the Money. In her investigative piece, Miranda Devine uncovers some intriguing aspects of Hunter Biden's business dealings in China during his father Joe Biden's vice presidency and subsequent presidential campaign. The story revolves around Hunter's involvement with a Chinese investment firm called Bohai Harvest Rostex, BHR. Hunter, alongside his business partner Devon Archer, invested in BHR without needing to contribute much capital upfront. Jonathan Lee, the CEO of BHR, assured them that funds would be secured through loans or other means to meet financial obligations. True to his word, $158,000 was wired to Hunter from BHR in December 2017, labeled as registered capital payments. The arrangement seems to benefit Hunter significantly, but the exact nature of what he's providing to Chinese partners remains unclear. What is evident is that BHR's acquisitions in the U.S., despite raising questions about regulatory oversight during a surge in Chinese investments, slipped under the radar without much scrutiny. Initially, there was little media interest in Hunter's China ventures when he joined his father on Air Force Two to Beijing in 2013. However, things changed in July 2014 when the Wall Street Journal started sniffing around BHR. In response to the potential media scrutiny, Archer urged caution, emphasizing that their joint venture should be portrayed as an individual investment by Hunter and himself, not linked to their firms Rosemont Seneca or Thornton Group. This insistence on individual ownership is never fully explained, but may relate to avoiding potential legal complications or maintaining privacy regarding the venture's true nature. Their concern escalated when BHR was linked to Alina Bacharina, the wife of Moscow's former corrupt mayor, who allegedly sent $3.5 million to Rosemont Seneca Thornton in 2014. Hunter's lawyer, George Messiers, denies any profit for Hunter from this transaction, asserting that Hunter was not a co-founder or owner of the entity involved. Hunter and Archer eventually split their joint 30% share in BHR between their respective firms, half to Archer's Ulysses and half to Hunter's Skenaydles. This restructuring, purportedly done for tax efficiency, took 8 months to formalize with Chinese regulators, highlighting the complexities involved in these financial transactions. Throughout this period, BHR made various investments, including in agriculture, like mines and farms, aligning with China's 5-year plan targeting cross-border investments in food and agribusinesses. Their most controversial move was the $600 million acquisition of Henniges Automotive, a Michigan car parts maker with potential national security implications, co-purchased with China's state-owned aircraft company. The Henniges deal needed approval from CFIUS, Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S., with Secretary of State John Kerry playing a key role. Republican Senators Grassley and Johnson later investigated this transaction as part of their broader probe into Hunter Biden's overseas business dealings, citing potential conflicts of interest and opaque review processes during a time of substantial Chinese investments in the U.S. Despite the challenges and controversies, Miranda Devine suggests that Hunter Biden might still reap significant profits from his BHR investment once the fund's life ends, likely post-2022, avoiding political fallout by waiting until his father is no longer in office. This narrative underscores the dirty secrets Joe Biden aimed to keep hidden regarding his son's Chinese business ventures. Chapter 15: The Big Guy. In May 2017, Tony Bobulinski met the Biden family at the Beverly Hilton for a secretive gathering. Hunter Biden and his Uncle Jim were already there, waiting in the hotel bar. They wanted to introduce Bobulinski to Joe Biden, then the vice president, who was about to speak at a global conference nearby. Bobulinski, a former Navy officer and Democrat donor, was there to potentially join forces with the Bidens on their existing joint venture with Chinese energy giant CEFC. The meeting was hush-hush. Hunter instructed Bobulinski not to discuss business details with his father. When Joe Biden arrived at the bar later that evening, Hunter introduced him to Bobulinski. Joe thanked Tony for helping his son and brother. The meeting confirmed what Bobulinski already knew. Joe was deeply involved in his family's international business dealings. The next day, Bobulinski accompanied Joe to his Milken Institute speech and then met with Jim Biden at the Peninsula Hotel. During this time, Jim explained how he and Hunter had been working with CEFC for years to promote China's Belt and Road Initiative, a global investment strategy aimed at expanding Chinese influence and creating debt traps worldwide. As they chatted, Bobulinski couldn't help but notice the political risk Joe Biden was taking. If word got out about these family business deals during his vice presidency, it could damage Joe's 2020 presidential campaign. Jim reassured Tony by mentioning plausible deniability, a term coined by the CIA to protect high-ranking officials from knowledge of illegal activities. This meant that while Joe Biden was unaware of the dirty details, he knew enough about his family's business dealings to give them his blessing. Bobulinski eventually became aware of this arrangement and felt uneasy about it. Later, in 2020, he would blow the whistle on these shady business practices, claiming that Vice President Biden had lied about not discussing Hunter's business ventures with him. The story begins in 2015 when James Gillier, a former British SAS officer and CEFC's intermediary, connected with Hunter through a family friend, Rob Walker. Gillier aimed to create a lucrative joint venture for the Bidens using CEFC's massive wealth. CEFC, led by Yi Jianming, served as China's state-backed arm for President Xi Jinping's Belt and Road project. Gillier introduced Bobulinski to the Biden family in early 2017, presenting him as a partner for a new global investment firm called Xi. Despite initial reservations about Hunter's past scandals, Bobulinski agreed to collaborate with them. Together, they planned to form an equal partnership between Chinese investors and themselves, distributing ownership among family members. Joe Biden was set to receive 10% equity in the venture, even though he would not directly participate in decision-making. In Miami, Hunter met with Xi and secured a $10 million annual fee for merely introducing deals, a deal that kept him financially afloat during his divorce. He also gifted Hunter a $3.16 million diamond to seal the partnership, unbeknownst to Bobulinski and Gilliar. Soon afterward, CEFC transferred $6 million to Rob Walker's company, further tying the Chinese firm to Hunter Biden and his associates. These mysterious transactions raised questions about their true purpose and ultimate beneficiary, leading observers to suspect corruption between the Bidens and Communist China. Chapter 16, Limestone Jesus. Miranda Devine's chapter unveils the complex web of relationships and financial dealings surrounding Hunter Biden, his family, and Chinese businessman Xi Jinping. The story revolves around the creation of a joint venture, Sinohawk, between the Biden family and CEFC, a Chinese energy conglomerate linked to President Xi Jinping's political agenda. The Biden clan, particularly Hunter, found themselves in dire financial straits post-vice presidency. Hunter was dealing with dwindling income, hefty alimony payments, and mounting debt from his divorce and addiction struggles. His lavish lifestyle demanded substantial funds, making the CEFC deal crucial for his financial survival. The Sino-Hawk agreement, if successful, would have positioned Hunter as an executive vice chairman with a $850,000 annual salary and additional perks. James Gilliar, a key player in the Biden camp, proposed this arrangement despite Hunter's dissatisfaction. The deal included Jim Biden, Hunter's brother-in-law, Devon Archer under federal fraud charges, and Tony Bobulinski, Hunter's business partner. Hunter, however, demanded more money. He felt the proposed salary was insufficient to meet his financial obligations, including alimony, legal fees, and his children's expenses. Using his influence, he claimed President Xi personally vouched for the partnership, hinting at extraordinary benefits. Bobulinski, cautious about potential conflicts of interest, suggested structuring the board to prevent any one entity from controlling it. This move rankled Hunter, who was unwilling to cede power. He threatened to walk away if his terms weren't met, straining the partnership dynamics. Meanwhile, the Biden family's ties to influential figures, both domestically and internationally, played a significant role in their business strategies. Their network included senior political figures, royalty, prominent commercial entities, and even foreign leaders. This expansive web of connections was intended to facilitate rapid market entry for global infrastructure and energy projects. As the story unfolds, the chapter highlights the financial pressures and questionable dealings that underscored Hunter Biden's involvement with CEFC. The narrative reveals a desperate bid to secure wealth, leveraging family connections and political influence in a high-stakes global partnership. It also hints at potential conflicts of interest and ethical dilemmas inherent in such arrangements. Chapter 17, In Bed with Xi and Putin. In October 2020, Joe Biden defended his son Hunter amidst allegations of unethical behavior, claiming nothing was wrong. This narrative explores the dirty secrets that Biden tried to conceal, focusing on a particular trip Hunter took to Monaco in June 2017. Hunter Biden flew into Monaco for a Burisma board meeting. Burisma is a Ukrainian energy company that had slashed his $83,333 monthly paycheck in half just 2 months after Joe Biden left office. Hallie, Hunter's then-girlfriend, was supposed to join him, but they had broken up recently over cheating allegations. Despite their split, Hunter accused her of choosing his brother's friend over him, saying it hurt the most because she didn't show him the same respect she gave his brother. Upon arrival at Nice Côte d'Azur Airport, Hunter was greeted by a Burisma limousine and security detail. He was directed to the Hotel Hermitage, a luxurious Belle Epoque palace overlooking Monaco Harbor and the Mediterranean Sea. The hotel is a short walk from the Monaco Yacht Club, where Burisma was hosting its Energy Security Forum. This event aimed to improve Burisma's tarnished reputation by inviting former heads of state, including Prince Albert II of Monaco, the son of Grace Kelly and Prince Rainier II. Burisma's owner, Ukrainian oligarch Mykola Zalishevsky, was waiting for Hunter at the yacht club. Zalishevsky wore a burgundy silk jacket, a white shirt, and a new beard, with an enormous sapphire and diamond ring on his left hand. Despite his wealth, he only spoke Russian and Ukrainian, needing translation headphones for speeches that day. Hunter had planned to meet Tony Bobulinski in Monte Carlo during the Grand Prix, but he stood Bobulinski up. Hunter said he was avoiding Burisma's security detail by climbing out his hotel room window, though he didn't explain why he needed to sneak past them. After missing their meeting, Bobulinski expressed frustration in messages to a mutual friend, describing Hunter as a complete fuck-up and having no interest in partnership with him. Later that month, Hunter and Hallie reconciled and moved into a $5 million waterfront house in Annapolis, Maryland. Despite their reunion, tensions remained high, as evidenced by an argument over a missed New York meeting. Hunter complained to Gillier about Yi's no-show, leading Gillier to draft a letter on his behalf to CEFC chairman, requesting payment for past work done by the Bidens and their associates. Meanwhile, Hunter and Uncle Jim Biden were secretly plotting with CEFC to build the world's largest LNG port in Louisiana for shipping liquefied natural gas to China. However, CEFC had larger plans. They were negotiating a $9 billion acquisition of Rosneft, Russia's state-owned oil giant, a move that signified a significant geopolitical shift. This deal aimed to solidify Sino-Russian alliance and challenge American interests. Chairman Yi of CEFC planned to meet with Putin to progress this Rosneft acquisition, but he was waiting for approval from President Xi Jinping, referred to as No. Won by Gillier. On June 14, Chairman Yi flew to Moscow to meet Igor Sechin, Rosneft's CEO, who had been personally sanctioned by U.S.-led measures against Russia due to the annexation of Crimea and involvement in the downing of Malaysian Flight MH17. By July 4, Putin and Xi announced a $10 billion investment fund for belt and road infrastructure projects during their meeting in Moscow. Soon after, reports surfaced that CEFC was acquiring a 14% stake in Rosneft. Zhang, another CEFC representative, appeared in a photo with Putin at the World Judo Championships in Budapest, signifying the significance of their partnership despite Putin's usual reluctance for such public displays. This narrative by Miranda Devine sheds light on Hunter Biden's involvement in business dealings with Russia and China during his father's vice presidency, revealing dirty secrets Joe Biden attempted to conceal. Chapter 18, All the Trouble in the World. In late August 2017, Hunter Biden found himself on a lavish spending spree following CEFC's official announcement of the $9 billion Rosneft deal. Chinese partner Gongwen Dong had arranged a $100,000 line of credit for Hunter, his Uncle Jim, and Aunt Sarah under the alias Hudson West II. The Bidens quickly used this credit for various purchases like airline tickets, technology products, and hotel rooms. The transactions were so frequent and extravagant that they were flagged for potential financial crimes by the Senate inquiry. Hunter also showed interest in buying a $4 million waterfront house in Annapolis, not far from his current rental place with Hallie. He was seen shopping in New York, spending large sums at luxury stores like Ralph Lauren and Brooks Brothers. His outfit for a high-end dinner at the Metropolitan Club cost him $14,115 alone. Yet amidst this glamorous lifestyle, trouble brewed on the horizon. The incoming Trump administration was taking a tough stance against China's national security threats. Director Zhang, linked closely with CEFC, faced visa issues. He and his family couldn't get their visas approved, leading to lost contact with Hunter and Jim Biden. Despite this, Hunter continued his luxury spending, even shelling out $12,000 at a Manhattan strip club just a stone's throw away from the Mandarin Oriental Hotel where he and Uncle Jim stayed, enjoying the corporate rate of $2,995 per night for their Central Park View suite. CEFC had set up an office for Hunter in New York at 40 West 57th Street, near luxury establishments like Robert De Niro's Nobu 57 Restaurant and Smile Design Manhattan, where he spent $69,977 on fixing his teeth due to years of drug abuse. Meanwhile, Xi, CEFC's chairman, was reportedly inviting Hunter to his new Central Park West penthouse, expressing concerns about a federal investigation into him. He even offered Hunter $1 million to serve as his private counsel. Hunter accepted this offer and received the money 6 months later via a wire transfer from Hudson West 2I to Wasco, labeled under the name of Patrick Ho Kai Ping, a former Hong Kong politician who ran Yi's promotional arm. However, things took a turn when Ho was arrested at JFK Airport by federal agents in November 2017 for attempting to bribe African officials. This arrest coincided with the collapse of CEFC's $100 million deal to acquire a stake in New York brokerage firm Cohen Inc., as it failed to secure approval from the newly vigilant CFIUS under the Trump administration's stricter stance on Chinese economic activities. Hunter didn't seem to provide any legal work despite receiving Ho's retainer of $1 million, but he did engage a lawyer for Ho and contacted the FBI on his behalf shortly after the arrest. Meanwhile, Hunter's drug addiction spiraled out of control during this period, leading him to spend money on luxury rehab treatments while simultaneously dealing with personal turmoil at home and business. His relationship with Hallie was strained, and he had falling outs with longtime associates like Eric Schwerin. As the pressure mounted on CEFC's chairman Yi due to Ho's arrest, Yi disappeared in Shanghai under suspicion of economic crimes. This occurred shortly after Yi expressed worries about potential offenses against people when climbing to the top, foreshadowing his downfall. CAFC's new administrators started scrutinizing Hunter's expenses, causing friction between him and CEFC officials like Mervyn Yan, who queried the nature of his expenditures. Despite this, Hunter and Uncle Jim Biden frantically attempted to salvage whatever they could from their partnership with CEFC before it crumbled. Unknown to others, Hunter had set up a separate joint venture with CEFC in August 2017, distinct from the Sino-Hawk deal, promising an even more profitable arrangement for him and his family. This secretive side deal involved creating a holding company equally owned by Hunter and Yi, allowing them to share profits and equity of future joint ventures. This narrative reveals the complex web of financial dealings and hidden connections involving Hunter Biden and Chinese businessmen like CEFC's chairman Yi, highlighting the dirty secrets that Joe Biden sought to keep under wraps during his presidential campaign. Chapter 19, The Spy Chief of China. In the heart of New York, Miranda Devine unveils a tale of intrigue and turmoil surrounding Hunter Biden, son of the then Vice President Joe Biden. The narrative revolves around Hunter's entanglement with Chinese businessman Patrick Ho and CEFC Energy, a firm linked to China's top leader Xi Jinping. Hunter, according to Devine, found himself in the crosshairs of media scrutiny in late 2018 when the New York Times began investigating Ho's dealings with Washington power brokers, including the Bidens. This intense focus sparked immense anxiety within the Biden family. Hunter, in particular, felt acutely uneasy, suspecting leaks to the press from his confidants like Rob Walker. During this period of heightened tension, Hunter was undergoing a unique drug treatment program in Newburyport, Massachusetts. Amidst daily ketamine infusions and nightly crack cocaine use, he continued to engage with prostitutes. Meanwhile, his lawyer, George Messiers, worked diligently to quell the Times' impending story about Ho's bribery trial. The article, when it finally saw light on December 12, 2018, placed significant emphasis on Hunter and his association with CEFC Energy. It detailed how Chairman Xi had allegedly sought business deals with the Biden family, including a proposed investment in U.S. energy and infrastructure projects. The story also revealed that Ho's first call following his arrest was to Jim Biden, though intended for Hunter. Divine highlights that Ho was swiftly convicted of bribery and money laundering during this time, marking a significant turn in the saga. As federal investigators exposed CEFC's attempts to corrupt foreign officials for President Xi's Belt and Road Initiative, Hunter continued his downward spiral in Los Angeles, battling crack addiction and contemplating his dire circumstances. Throughout this tumultuous year, Hunter's actions not only jeopardized his father's political aspirations, but also caused deep distress within the Biden family. Uncle Jim attempted to console him, acknowledging his efforts in mending the family despite the lack of respect shown in return. His half-sister Ashley penned a heartfelt plea for his well-being, citing her father's profound sadness without Hunter by his side. The climax arrived when the Biden family staged an intervention during Christmas. Despite initial resistance, Hunter agreed to check into a rehabilitation facility, only to flee shortly after for another crack-fueled escapade. This cycle of addiction and familial discord unfolded against the backdrop of political machinations, painting a picture of a family struggling to reconcile personal turmoil with public expectations amidst an increasingly complex global power play. Chapter 20, Falling Apart. In late 2017, Hunter Biden, son of then Vice President Joe Biden, found himself entangled in a web of secrets and substance abuse issues that threatened to derail his father's political aspirations. Living in a luxurious oceanfront home in Malibu, Hunter was grappling with crack cocaine addiction, often spending his days indulging in drug use and entertaining escorts. Despite his tumultuous lifestyle, on October 12, 2018, Hunter decided to purchase a .38 caliber revolver from StarQuest Shooters and Survival Supply in Wilmington, Delaware, a mere 10-minute drive from his father's residence. When filling out the firearms transaction record, he falsely answered no to the question about his drug usage, a lie that could have landed others in jail for committing a felony. Just days before acquiring the gun, Hunter had taken photos of incoming calls on Hallie Biden's AT&T cordless phone using Spokeo.com. This digital surveillance foreshadowed his deteriorating relationship with Hallie, Joe Biden's sister, and Hunter's brother Beau's widow. Hallie would eventually take the gun from Hunter's truck lockbox and discard it in a trash can outside Jansen's Gourmet Grocery Market, located near a high school, an action that highlighted their volatile relationship. Hunter's story unfolded through emails to Hallie's sister, Liz Secundi, and conversations with his therapist, Keith Ablow. He claimed Hallie stole his gun due to fear of self-harm, stemming from his drug and alcohol problems. Meanwhile, Delaware State Police investigated Hunter after he reported the missing firearm, causing him immense agitation when questioned about potential substance use or crime involvement. During this time, Secret Service agents visited StarQuest Shooters to obtain the firearms transaction record, but shop owner Ron Pomeroy refused to hand it over. Neither Joe nor Hunter was under protection from the agency at that moment, with Secret Service denying any involvement in the situation. The lost gun was recorded as stolen on the National Crime Information Center website and eventually recovered by a man scavenging for recyclables. Despite the incident's significance, no charges were filed against Hunter or Hallie, and it remained undisclosed to the media until Miranda Devine unveiled it 3 years later in her narrative. Devine delved deeper into Hunter and Hallie's relationship, revealing that their affair commenced following Beau Biden's death on May 30, 2015. As their bond deepened, tensions rose. Ashley Biden, Hunter's sister, criticized the union from the start. In a November 2016 group text involving Joe and Jill, Ashley urged Hallie to consider the consequences of her actions, citing concerns about Hunter's well-being. The dysfunctional relationship further escalated when Hunter paid $14,500 for Hallie's rehab at Passages in Malibu, though their discord persisted. In early 2018, They tried a fresh start in Annapolis, Maryland, but drug addiction continued to plague them. Ashley Biden's visit to their new residence confirmed the unraveling dynamics, revealing their disregard for discretion and the potential impact on Joe Biden's political career if word got out about Hunter's substance abuse issues. In May 2017, Hunter expressed guilt over tarnishing Beau's memory by engaging in these relationships. Around this time, a woman named London Alexis Roberts, who met Hunter at a Washington, D.C. strip club, became pregnant with his child. Despite Roberts' initial attempts to communicate with him, Hunter eventually erased her from his life and disputed paternity. As Joe Biden prepared for the 2020 presidential race, Hunter's erratic behavior intensified. His relationship with Hallie reached a breaking point in July 2018 when she accused him of abuse. By November, Hallie had expelled Hunter from their shared home, emphasizing his need for sobriety and personal responsibility. Hunter retreated to New York City, where he frequented the Yale Club, reportedly indulging in drug use with the club's complicity due to his 6P status. In January 2019, a dispute over drug delivery at Marquee nightclub led Hunter to threaten violence against his dealer Frankie, claiming neck injury from an altercation. In February, Hunter's outrage over Maureen Dowd's New York Times article portrayed him as a troubled addict, sparked furious exchanges with both his father and Hallie on text messages. These interactions highlighted the strain of Hunter's substance abuse issues on his family's cohesion. Hunter's volatile behavior continued through April 2019, when he dropped off a water-damaged laptop at John Paul Mac Isaac's repair shop in Wilmington, unaware that this device would expose the presidential campaign's deepest concerns and potentially alter Joe Biden's political destiny. Just 2 weeks later, Joe Biden announced his 2020 candidacy, facing challenges stemming from his son's hidden secrets. Chapter 21, Laptop from Hell. In early 2019, Hunter Biden visited John Paul Mac Isaac's computer repair shop in Wilmington, Delaware. He brought 3 damaged laptops for repairs, but only one was recoverable. Hunter signed a work order, giving his name as Hunter and a phone number. After failing to pay or retrieve the laptop within 90 days, it became Mac Isaac's property legally. Mac Isaac, a Republican voter, later found himself with a treasure trove of data after recovering Hunter's laptop. He noticed the name Burisma during his data recovery process, which caught his attention due to its connection to reports about President Donald Trump's impeachment. Burisma was an energy company in Ukraine where Hunter Biden had served on its board. After noticing this link, Mac Isaac searched for Burisma within the laptop data and discovered emails and documents related to the company. Concerned about the potential implications, he decided to involve the FBI. Initially, his father advised him to hand over a copy of the hard drive to FBI agents in Albuquerque, New Mexico. However, they didn't accept it without further explanation. In October 2019, FBI agents Joshua Williams and Mike Dzielak visited Mac Isaac's shop and took away the laptop and hard drive after obtaining a subpoena. Despite this, Mac Isaac kept a duplicate copy for his protection. As the impeachment trial against Trump unfolded in January 2020, Mac Isaac grew increasingly convinced that the Burisma-related information on Hunter's laptop was significant and questioned why the FBI hadn't acted on it. He attempted to reach out to Republican members of Congress for assistance, but received no replies. Eventually, Mac Isaac contacted Rudy Giuliani, Trump's personal attorney, who then involved Bob Costello in investigating the hard drive's contents. After verifying the data's authenticity over several weeks, Costello found multiple potential crimes within the documents, including possible connections to China. In late September 2020, Emma Jo Morris, a reporter at the New York Post, learned from Steve Bannon about Hunter Biden's laptop containing incriminating material. Although initially excited, she soon discovered that Bannon didn't have the hard drive himself. However, she was shown compelling evidence by Costello during her visit to Long Island, leading her to download some significant data onto a thumb drive for verification. With the help of Morris and other Post reporters, the paper prepared an explosive story based on the laptop's contents just days before the 2020 presidential election. Facebook and Twitter, citing policies against hacked material, suppressed the article's spread on their platforms, impacting its visibility and credibility in the public eye. This coordinated censorship by major corporations aimed to limit the story's influence before Election Day, despite later acknowledgments that there was no hacking involved. As a result, many media outlets dismissed the laptop's content as a Kremlin-backed smear campaign without directly addressing its claims. Despite the suppression efforts, Mac Isaac felt compelled to act due to his fears for personal safety once realizing the extent of Hunter Biden's secrets. Faced with violent threats in his Biden-dominated community, he was eventually forced to close his business and relocate out of state. Furthermore, Mac Isaac filed a defamation lawsuit against Twitter for allegedly labeling him as a hacker due to the Post's suppression on their platform. Hunter Biden, meanwhile, continued to face legal scrutiny over various financial matters and international connections, with federal authorities quietly examining his affairs in relation to securities fraud, money laundering, and dubious foreign ties. Despite ongoing investigations, no charges were immediately brought against him, with hopes pinned on a presidential pardon should the need arise. Following Joe Biden's victory in the election, Hunter found relief from perceived threats to his personal freedom. Confident that any Department of Justice investigations would clear him or result in fatherly pardons, he resumed life with newfound privilege and enthusiasm, reclaiming his place within the family circle as an advisor during his father's presidency, basking in luxurious surroundings akin to past experiences. And that brings us to the end of our summary of this book. I hope you found it insightful and valuable. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe for more. Your support helps us bring you more great content. Thanks for watching.